Hey Sketchy friends, so sometimes instead of sketching the whole scene, I like to frame the view within a shape, like this Moroccan arch. It's a simple design idea that makes your sketchbook page pop, and it gives your scene a focus without needing to fill the whole page. So it's really useful if you're collaging smaller sketches together across a page, which I really love to do, and you can see that in my last couple of sketchbook tour videos. Or if you're using an accordion sketchbook as well, which is something that I've also played around with a lot. And again, you can see in some of the previous sketchbook tour videos. Just a quick one to note that I am leading a trip to sketch Morocco in April 2026. We will be mainly in the Marrakesh area and then spending a couple of nights in the Agafay Desert at the end. If you want to join me, the trip is already confirmed. We do have enough people, but there are a couple of spaces left. So if you are interested, please do check out the description below or just shoot me an email, taria@urbansketchingworld.com, and I will get back to you. So this is what we're going to sketch in this video. I do have the reference photo linked below. It is just a random photo that I found on the internet. This is, just out of interest, the watercolor paper that I'll be using for this particular demonstration by a brand called Potentate. It is 100% cotton, but it's very affordable. It just comes in these kind of packets like this, but they do also make sketchbooks, I think, as well. Something easily available to us here in South Africa. Not entirely sure about the rest of the world. I'm just going to use my trusty Platinum Preppy fountain pen here, which is probably one of the cheapest fountain pens on the market. Really great fountain pen though, if you're looking for something cheap to kind of get into drawing with a fountain pen. And you can see here, I'm just using dots to help me guide me along my way. And that's a really useful thing to do if you're just going straight in with pen. I do like to start with a tiny bit of pencil, especially on much more complicated things. But I thought for this one, I think I can do it straight in pen. But you can use those dots and they kind of disappear in the end sketch anyway. So I'm just trying to get the sense of the shape of the doorway. You can see in my first sketch, it's a bit different. The second one, it's different again. It's always going to be different. That's fine. If you could sketch the exact same thing every single time, it would be kind of boring. And from this archway, then I can use visual landmarks within the reference photo just to see where I'm putting everything, where that building falls in relation to the edge of the archway. You're always looking for visual clues like this. As I always say, doesn't have to be exactly right. It's just an indication. It's just a sketch. So as long as it's somewhat right, then you're going to be fine. So in the reference photo, there is obviously a figure in the middle of the archway. I'm just ignoring that lady. I'm just trying to draw around her. So there is a little bit of imagination that just goes into putting in the bottom of this building, but that's fine. You want to just sort of think this is 1 point perspective. So the lines on the base of the building are going to be slanting upwards towards the horizon. And as we can see in the reference photo, the top edges of the building slant downwards towards the horizon. That's as much as you need to think about. You don't need to think about anything else. You don't need to put a vanishing point in. You don't need to worry. Again, as long as it's somewhat right, those lines at the top are slanting down towards the horizon, bottom of the building slanting upwards towards the horizon. That's all you need to worry about. And then we're drawing that nice tower in the background. Again, I am absolutely simplifying this so much. really just think of the basic shapes. It's in the distance. We can't really see what's going on. If this was real life, I can't pinch and zoom like you can on a photograph on a digital device. So just an indication of what's there is fine. And as you can see, it does the job. It tells us enough about what's going on. So I've simplified the buildings to the right of the tower. I can see there's some kind of like barrier or metal kind of posts here or something. Maybe there's a restaurant or a cafe over to the side there. And there's these kind of nice palm trees. There's also a couple of lampposts as well, which I didn't actually put in my original drawing, but I thought maybe I'll just put them into this one. Again, it sort of gives us an idea of things receding into the background, but The beauty of this kind of thing and travel sketching as a whole is you can leave out things, you can edit what you see, you can just draw the things that are interesting to you. You don't have to draw every last lamppost or garbage bin or pigeon or whatever it is, just draw what you want to draw. So I like the building on the left, the tower in the background, and the palm tree on the right. Those are like some of the nice features of this. I also really like that slice of light that's going across the ground, which we're going to deal with shortly as well. It's always fun to try new techniques or ideas like we are doing in this very video. And a great way to get inspired is to learn from others. Artists Academy, who are kindly sponsoring today's video, is a great place to do that. For example, this course by Stuart Luffridge, I've been watching recently, and it's just shown me a few different ways that he does things that I didn't think about in my own process. So even if you're someone who's been sketching for a number of years like myself, I'm still finding so many nuggets of gold by watching these kinds of videos by other artists and other teachers. Or something completely different like this course by Kateri Ewing, and how to play with your watercolors and create different textures and use different materials in order to make some interesting effects. So I can definitely see this being very fun to maybe do some urban sketching over the top of. You can see what amazing textures and patterns she's making, and it's just such a super interesting course, something that perhaps will get me thinking in a different way. So there are videos on all kinds of different topics, such as different mediums like acrylic, oil, watercolor, mixed media, different subject matters, portraits, landscapes, just so much more. All instructional videos are taught by talented, friendly artists, and there are new lessons being brought out all the time. So do check out the link in the description below and get your first full year of Artists Academy Premium for only $1.49. And this is available to new members only. Okay, so now we can move on to the watercolor stage. We've got our nice little ink drawing, as you can see, very, very simple. And we're gonna sort of look at this kind of pinky orangish color. I am using a water brush for this. I do really like this Derwent one. I've just bought it literally a few weeks ago. Actually came in a pack of 4. Really liking the Derwent ones. They're working very, very nicely. I was using Pentel before that, but my first one lasted me for over 10 years. The second one has lasted me under a year. So, and they're not that easy for me to get. Anyway, I found this pack of Derwent ones, 4 different sizes. Really, really like them. So if you're in the market for a water brush, I can confirm these ones I am a fan of. So here I'm just messing around with the colors I have in my set. I've got like quite a nice orangey yellow, but I wanted to like pinky it up a bit. So this will depend what colors you've got in your set, but if you've got sort of a yellow ochre and maybe some kind of cold red like an alizarin crimson or a quin rose, do what I did and just sort of try out some different color combinations on a spare piece of paper. If it's looking too yellowy orange, add a bit more of the red and vice versa until you get to a nice kind of weathered pinky kind of tone that I think is quite definitive of Marrakesh or Morocco as a whole. It's a beautiful color. One of the joys of watercolor is really sort of messing around with your colors and seeing what you can come up with. So I'm going to use this yellow ochre on the tower in the background, straight from the pan there. Again, I was just trying it on the piece of paper just to make sure I was happy with what color that was. I do actually go and adjust it later on though, because I wanted to make it a bit more vibrant like the one in the first demonstration, or in the first sketch that I did, so you'll see me do that. And that's again the beauty of watercolor. They are translucent on the whole, so you can layer them and sort of glaze over other colors and adjust things, which is quite nice. Then I'm looking for this kind of turquoisey color. So the color I've got there in my set is called Mint, and it's a bit on the green side, so I've just added a bit of cerulean blue in just to balance it a bit. Again, it will come down to what kind of colors you've got in your set, but definitely for Morocco, and I also found when I was traveling in Iran, this kind of turquoisey color comes up an awful lot, so it would be great to have something like that in your set ready to go. And that's why it's great to You know, look up photos of where you're going when you're traveling and just sort of see if there's any special colors that you might want to add to your set. That can be quite fun. I definitely did that before I went to Iran in 2018, and I bought a light sort of turquoise like the one I just used, and then a darker one just because I could see that those were really the colors of Iran. So I do encourage you to do that if you know you're going on a trip and you want to do some sketching. And here I'm just using a cerulean blue no, I'm not, sorry, that's a lie. I'm using a phthalo blue, and that's why I've opened up my other set of paints here, because it's not one I have in that first set of paints, but it makes a beautiful sky color. So I must at some stage I just end up carrying both sets around because they've got slightly different colors in them. They're both quite small, so it's not really a big deal, but you know, maybe at some stage I will try and scale down. So I've got every color I want in one set, but you guys know how it is. It's really difficult because, you know, it just depends on what you're doing. As I said, no hardship really to carry these two small sets around. And I do have a link in the video description below about recommended art supplies and that kind of thing, along with my full-length courses as well, where I really take this stuff step by step and explain everything very, very slowly. This is obviously just a quick little idea I want to share with you here on YouTube that you can do at home very easily using the reference photo that I've linked in the description below. So here you can see I'm going over the top of the original building that I painted with my darker colors now. So anywhere where there's bits of shadow, I'm using a darker version of my initial mix and just adding those colors in. So I've got a couple of pre-mixed greens here, which I really love to use. So I've got a green gold by Daniel Smith, and then I've got green, it's just called green, by Rosa Gallery. You can also find it in White Nights as well, also just called green. Very, very similar colors and very, very nice green. Alternatively, obviously, you can use sap green or you can mix your greens, whatever you prefer to do. And then in the ground here, I'm using a mixture of, I think, Moon Glow and then just a bit of that cold red again, just to sort of tie it into the buildings. And you can see how much more warmer it is on this version than the original version. I am going to let that dry, and then I really want to get that shaft of light across the ground. So that's something that I really, really like in this photograph. So that's something that I want to capture. In the meantime though, whilst I wait for the ground to dry, I'm going to use a white gel pen. This is currently my favourite that seems to work, which is the Signo Uniball White, but it must be the broad. If you're in the UK, I can confirm you can definitely buy those from Ryman's, but I believe you can just get them off Amazon as well. But it's a great white gel pen, and it just seems to work every time, and it gives a nice white line. So I've just added very basic patterns in the tower at the back, not exactly what's in the photo because it would just be too difficult to replicate at this size. So just a basic version of it, and just a bit in the palm trees as well. Now the ground is dry, I'm going in with a darker sort of dirty purple mixture and putting that over the top, reserving the shape of the ray of light across the bottom, just to show that nice bit of light coming through. Just little tricks like that is really going to bring your sketch more to life. And if you're doing this in real life, if you've got a scene, I do recommend trying to at least mark out those areas of light, such as you see on the ground, with a pencil or something, just so you don't lose it, because as we know, the light changes, especially if you're doing a bigger, longer sketch as well. So it's quite a good idea to try and mark out any areas of shadow and light that you really want to get into your scene, just so you remember where it was. So as I said, I'm just adding a slightly orangey yellow over the top because I actually really liked that in the first sketch and I wanted to do that, make it a bit more punchy, so I've done that there. And then final stage is just to go around with the pen and just add in anything I missed. I missed the texture of those roof tiles on the top of that building on the left. Just add a few more crazy lines in the palm trees, keeping them nice and loose. A few more white lines, just looking for finishing touches, but that's pretty much everything I'm going to do on that sketch. And as you can see, just a really, really nice idea for your travel sketchbook is to sketch a scene. It doesn't have to be a beautiful shape like this. It could be, much more simple. It could be the view through a window. It could be a view through the aeroplane window. I've done that before, from your hotel window, through an archway, anything like that at all. So I really hope you've enjoyed this little demo, and I hope that you'll have a go at it at home as well. If you would like more in-depth teaching from me, step-by-step, in real time, I've got loads more courses for you guys to check out. Please do check the link in the description below. I've also got my book, my ebooks, all kinds of stuff. So please do check out the description below, and I'll see you in my next video.